Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday morning. We made it to the weekend. And let's spend part of our Saturday morning thinking about this defensive line. I've already made several videos talking about the players on this defensive line. I've made a video talking about the way in which you might see the snaps distributed in 2021 among our defensive linemen. But I want to return to it for another video here and talk about it in a more concrete sense. I want to really compare this defensive line to previous Seahawks defensive lines in the Pete Carroll era. And I want to try to answer the question, will the 2021 Seahawks defensive line be the best defensive line in Seahawks Pete Carroll history? And I think the answer has a good chance of being yes. And that's a bold proclamation because we've had some very good defensive lines over the last 10 plus years. We've had some great defensive linemen pass through Seattle in that time. We've had defensive linemen that tortured opposing quarterbacks, that got a lot of penetration on run plays. But I feel like that this defensive line has a chance to be the best one that Carroll's ever put together. We do need some things to go right, but if you take a look at the personnel we put together on this defensive line and you take a look at the potential that they have and the depth, I feel like this could be the best defensive line that the Seahawks have had since Carroll got here. And part of the reason why I think that's possible is because if you take a look at the Seahawks defensive lines in the Pete Carroll era, they've never been a line that is great because of the merits of one player. They don't have Aaron Donalds. They don't have Khalil Max. They don't have that one player who's going to get you 20 sacks. They don't have that one player who's going to hit the QB 100 times. What they do is they assemble a large collection of solid, effective talent that can keep everybody fresh. The great Seahawks defensive lines under Pete Carroll have been balanced, and they've been balanced with solid players who could get the job done. The best season we've had in Carroll's time here in terms of rushing the passer have come from Frank Clark, Chris Clemens, Michael Bennett, and those guys have been great. Those guys have played at a Pro Bowl level for us, but you would never have put those guys on the list of greatest defensive linemen in football. They are not J.J. Watts. They are not Von Millers. They are just really, really good players who didn't have to do everything for this defensive line. So comparing this unit to those units, I think this set has a chance. And one of the main reasons why is because the balance should be there more than maybe we've ever seen. So let's try to put this in more concrete numerical terms. All right. So what I've done here in this chart is I've basically taken a look at our top 9 defensive linemen in each of the last 9 seasons. The top 5 defensive ends are here in the green columns, and the top 4 defensive tackles are here in the yellow columns. And then I've ordered them by number of snaps played per game on average. And again, like I was saying, the seat of the Seahawks defensive line's power is not having one guy who does everything. It's having a large collection of guys who can all do well. So the balance is the main key. And what I'm saying when I'm saying the 2021 defensive line could be the best defensive line the Seahawks have had since Carroll got here, I'm saying that the balance could be more on point than it's ever been. That's really what we're talking about here. The depth could be more on point than it's ever been. So to kind of explain what I'm thinking about here, let's go through each of these years. So 2012, that was the first year of the Wilson Wagner era, and we were kind of out of balance this year, if you're going to be straight honest, right? We asked Chris Clemens to do basically everything. Chris, as far as defensive lineman went, he was on the field for 54 snaps a game. Okay, we asked him to be the man, and maybe that's part of the reason why he broke in the playoffs. Remember, he tore his ACL in the playoff game. We didn't have him for Atlanta, and we couldn't touch Matt Ryan in that Falcons game. So, hey, that's what happens sometimes. We did have Red Bryant. Red Bryant was a good player, not exactly a conventional pass rusher, but Red Bryant was good. We loved having him around. He played 39 snaps a game. You had Bruce Irvin. He played 27 snaps a game, but you got to remember, most of those snaps, I would say more than half of his snaps, came as a linebacker. If I had to guess, I would say that Bruce Irvin played 12 maybe 13 snaps a game as a defensive end with his hand in the dirt, and the rest he was playing as linebacker. So as a defensive end, he was only giving us maybe 12, 13 snaps. If I had to guess, there's no way for me to look it up. And then after that, you had kind of garbage men. Jones and Scruggs were not great players. They did not make great contributions to this team. They were just warm bodies. 26, 27 snaps a game from Jones, and Scruggs gave us 18. Sometimes you have to have guys like this, but we really only went three deep with defensive ends in 2020, and one of them was a linebacker who could play hybrid roles. So the balance was not good in 2012. We put everything on Clemens, and Clemens broke by the end of the season. Defensive tackle, we were fortunate that we only had to play like 920 defensive snaps in 2012, or else it would have been a lot worse. But we really only had two defensive tackles that we really liked this year. Brendon played 39 snaps, which is not a big problem. 39 snaps a game for a defensive tackle, it's okay. You can live with it. Alan Branch had 35. And then we had Clint McDonald. We kind of liked him. We gave him 21 and a half. And then Jay Howard was the garbage man, 11 snaps a game. We only really went three deep this year at defensive tackle. And one of those guys was somebody we, at this point, did not love. So you can kind of see how in 2012, the defensive line was really out of balance. We had two players who we really liked. Maybe three if you include Red Bryant. But the balance was not there. We had to put a lot on Chris Clemens. We had to put a good amount on Mebane, and you get the results that you get. Okay, 2013. The balance is on point. Check this out, okay? Not a single player on this defensive line played more than 40 snaps, with the exception of Bruce Irvin, who played probably half his snaps or a little bit more as a linebacker, so it's not the same, and Chris Clemens. And Chris Clemens played 40.6, so just barely over 40, okay? And check this out. You got Michael Bennett playing 37, Cliff Avril playing 37, Red Bryant playing 32. I think there were a couple of fringe roster guys who contributed a little bit this year. I can't remember exactly who it was, but look at this balance, man. Look at this snap balance. And look at the defensive tackle spot. It really kind of evened out. Now we got Clint McDonald taking the load off of Brandon Mebane's shoulders. We got Tony McDaniel coming in and playing 33 snaps a game. Look at this balance, man. Nobody's getting overloaded. We even got Jordan Hill back here making minor contributions. I don't think he played in that many games, but look at the way this defensive line balanced itself out. You got 5 defensive ends who are playing 32 or more snaps. Now, again, Bruce Irvin, half his snaps were at linebacker, but still, this is a beautiful spread. You've got one guy playing 40 plus snaps a game as a lineman, and it's barely over 40. So it's no wonder this was one of the greatest defenses of all time. No wonder they won the Super Bowl. 2014 starts to kind of slip away from us. We're not there yet, but Michael Bennett is suddenly playing 52 snaps a game. Bruce Irvin, he goes up to 46. Again, it's not a problem because half his snaps are as linebacker. So he's really only playing 25 snaps a game at defensive line at most, so that's fine. Cliff Avril, he goes up to about 45 snaps a game. It's okay. But what really happened this offseason before 2014 was we lost Red Bryant and we lost Chris Clemens, and we didn't really replace them. We replaced them with garbage men. We got Greg Scruggs back here playing 22 snaps a game. O'Brien Schofield played 21 snaps a game. It's not a huge deal because the top end is good, but these are not really the kinds of guys you want to be giving 21 snaps a game. They're not good. They're just warm bodies. But the problems hadn't completely manifested yet. Now, the defensive tackle depth was on point. Check this out. You got 4 guys here who are playing anywhere from 25 to 31 snaps. Now, a couple of these guys didn't make it to the end of the season. I think Jordan Hill and Kevin Williams got hurt before the playoffs. But in terms of general function, this balance at defensive tackle is beautiful. You got Brandon Mebane leading the team in snaps as a defensive tackle with 31. Jordan Hill, 28. Kevin Williams, 27. Tony McDaniel, 25. That is balanced, man. That is some beautiful balance. Now, part of the reason why we didn't have to overload anybody is because Michael Bennett was playing some snaps at defensive tackle, which wears him out. But regardless, the defensive tackle balance was on point. Some injuries kind of hurt us as the season went on, but dang, really good. Okay, 2015. Things are starting to slide out of whack. Check this out. Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill are now combining for over 100 snaps a game. And it's not like we did a bad job adding defensive line talent that offseason. We added Frank Clark to replace Greg Scruggs, basically. Frank Clark took all of Greg Scruggs' snaps, and unlike Scruggs, who was just a warm body, Frank Clark was actually a young, talented, capable, blue chip pass rusher, and he gave us quality snaps in 2015 as a rookie. Wasn't a breakout season for him yet, but we did do that. And Bruce Irvin continued to take on a slightly bigger load in what would be his contract year. But still, because we didn't really do anything else to replace Red Bryant and Chris Clemens, still trying to replace those guys, Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill, we had to put more stuff on their shoulders. Bennett was playing 51 snaps a game. Averill was playing 49. Okay? So we're slowly slipping out of sync. Our number 5 defensive end this year was Cassius Marsh, who played in 12 snaps a game, and I don't think he played in every game. So as we lose talent and fail to replace it well, we just keep putting more and more stuff on the shoulders of Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill. Defensive tackle, it's not bad yet. Meebane's only playing 33 snaps a game. Jordan Hill's at 31. I don't think he played the whole season, but he played most of the games. Ruben, we did add Atba Ruben, the tuba, and he had 30 snaps a game, so that was cool. So we've got a nice little 3-man rotation. We didn't really have a fourth defensive tackle this year. Closest you can find it would be DeMarcus Dobbs, who played about 11 snaps a game and only played in a handful of games. So we really only rolled with 3 defensive tackles this year, at least in terms of who they're designated as on the roster. Part of the reason why we can do that is, again, because Michael Bennett rolls to defensive tackle on a few snaps a game, which, hey, it wears him out, but again, we're just putting everything on his shoulders now because we lost guys and we didn't replace them. So we're just going to keep on increasing the load on that guy. 2016. This is starting to get a little dangerous, right? Cliff Averill's up to 52 snaps a game. Michael Bennett's at 51 and a half. And by the way, Frank Clark made a leap. He is now a bona fide stud pass rusher at defensive end. He's playing 45 and a half snaps a game. So Frank Clark is everything you could have ever hoped for, and yet, you're still putting the whole world on the shoulders of Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett. Part of the reason why is because you haven't found a fourth guy or really a fifth guy yet. You do have DeMontre Moore, and DeMontre Moore played 26 snaps for you, and he wasn't a complete garbage man, but not really the guy you want to have out there. Cassius Marsh made a little bit of a leap and was a little bit better. He was able to get on the field for 24 snaps a game, but that's kind of a garbage man you're talking about there. And the defensive tackle rotation actually got a little bit more even. We lost Jordan Hill. We lost Brandon Meebane. But we added Jerron Reed in the draft, and he came in and was an impact rookie. We brought back Tony McDaniel. Silver Seguilia played decent snaps for the handful of games he was here. We were doing okay. Ruben was playing about 38 snaps a game. That's fine. He can handle it. He's a big boy. Jerron Reed got 32. Nice. Tony McDaniel got 30. Solid. So the rotation on the interior's still looking tenable. But we just keep on putting more and more stuff on the shoulders of Averill and Bennett, and we're just hoping it's going to work out for us. All right. 2017. Okay, this has officially gotten ridiculous, right? 58.2 snaps a game for Michael Bennett. And let me tell you something. By the end of the season in 2017, I remember, and you OGs are going to remember too, Michael Bennett was useless by the end of that season. All he did was jump off sides and miss tackles. We wore him out. We put everything on his shoulder, and then he broke down. Or his shoulders, excuse me. And then he broke down. 58 snaps a game for a defensive lineman who plays on the edge and on the inside. That's no bueno. That's bad. That's bad roster management. And why did it happen? How did this happen? It wasn't because of Frank Clark, who played a full season and gave us 46 snaps a game and was playing at a very high level. The real problem was that Cliff Averill finally broke. Like I said, we kept putting more stuff on Cliff Averill's shoulders, kept on piling. I know his injury was a fluke, But it cannot help but occur to me that we kept piling and piling the load onto Cliff Averill, and finally his body said no mas. Career-ending injury after 3.5 games. He was playing 38 snaps a game through those first handful of games, mostly because he got hurt in the middle of the fourth one. If he didn't, I'm sure it would have been above 45 snaps a game as usual, maybe even a little bit more. And to try to carry the load in 2017, we had Brandon Jackson, definition of replacement level, playing 22 snaps a game. Ugh. And Marcus Smith playing 18. And that's not it either. We brought in Dwight Freeney in the middle of the season to try to even things out a little bit. I remember Dwight Freeney played a few games with us. We brought on Dion Jordan, and he played, I think, 5 games and gave us about 25 snaps a game in those 5 games. So we had to scrape the bottom of the barrel to find guys who could give us snaps. And even with that, we had to overwork Michael Bennett. Defensive tackle, it's starting to get away from us too if you take a look at this. I mean, look, I'll say this. Sheldon Richardson is more talented than any defensive tackle we had before in the Carroll era. He's more talented than Mebane. He's more talented than Ruben. He's more talented than Tony McDaniel. It's understandable that you would want to give him a lot of snaps. So I'm not going to say anything too bad about him getting 44 snaps a game. That's fine. Jerron Reed went up to 41. That's a little higher than you would like, I think, for a player of his caliber. He's good, but he's not Aaron Donald. That's starting to push it a little bit, mostly because we didn't find a third or fourth guy that we really liked. You had Nazir Jones. This was the one season where he did something before his body completely broke, but 26 snaps a game, I don't know how excited we are about that as a number 3. And then we had Quentin Jefferson. This was his first year here. He gave us 21.5 snaps a game. Not bad for a number 4, but starting to be a little out of whack, if you guys catch what I'm saying here. Okay, 2018, to continue our trip down memory lane. The Seahawks get bailed out by having a really good defense on third down. This was one of the few years in the Pete Carroll era where the team was great on third down. So because of that, even though their defense isn't amazing, and even though their team overall was good but not amazing, they're able to limit their snap counts on their defensive linemen by a pretty healthy amount, just by virtue of the fact they're not on the field as much as they were in previous years. So somehow Frank Clark and the Four Stooges put together a capable, decent, passable defensive line in 2018 without overworking Frank Clark. Because, guys, this defensive line, this collection of edge rushers, this is sad. Brandon Jackson, Mr. Replacement level, had to play 29 snaps a game. Dion Jordan, remember how that experiment worked out? 25 snaps a game. Rasheem Green, and I'm not saying anything bad about Rasheem Green, but he was 20 years old in 2018, had to play 20 snaps a game. Jacob Martin, 6th round pick, rookie, 14 snaps a game, because that's the best we could do. I remember there were a couple guys we picked up off the scrap heap too who couldn't even make this list. You couldn't even make the list above guys like Brandon Jackson. This is a sad collection of pass rushers, but thank God the defense was able to get it done on third down. Frank Clark only had to play 45.5 snaps a game, which is pretty reasonable for a stud pass rusher who's in a contract year. And then if you go to defensive tackle, you're going to see something really start to get away from us. Jerron Reed, who had a great year this year. I'm not saying anything bad about Jerron Reed, but you don't really want to put a dude on the interior on the field for 48 snaps a game. And that's what we did in 2018. Jerron Reed, 48 snaps a game. But if you take a look at the guys we had behind him, it's no wonder. You had Quentin Jefferson. He had a decent season. He was okay. He did some things, 35 snaps a game. I really would prefer to not put a guy like Quentin Jefferson out there for that much, but we needed to. Shamar Stephen, remember that guy, one of the most anonymous Seahawks players of all time, 33 snaps a game. And Poona Ford was still a rookie. He was still acclimating himself to the NFL. He was good, but he only gave us 21 snaps a game. He clearly had something, but it was going to be another year before he could really start doing stuff for the Seahawks. All right, so let's see how the balance gets in 2019, because clearly in 2018, the team realized they had gone too far. They had pushed Bennett too far. They had pushed Averill too far. They were playing them too many snaps. So they finally started taking measures to try to reduce the load. Unfortunately, their method for reducing the load involved getting a lot of not very good players and getting them on the field. So the pass rush was being helped by keeping their good guys fresh, but it was being hindered by having a lot of guys who just weren't good out there. So in 2019, this was the year when the pass rush was truly beyond pathetic. And if you take a look at the players we were sending out there, it's not really a surprise. Clowney was the guy we put everything on, and he broke. But Clowney always breaks, so I'm not going to say it was because we put too much on him. I will say that if it weren't for the fact that he got hurt at the end of the year and we were trying to baby him, he probably would have played over 50 snaps a game. So 46 and a half doesn't tell the whole picture. Now, this isn't completely inexcusable. A player of Clowney's supposed caliber should be playing a lot of snaps. But if you take a look at the guys we had behind him, man, Rasheem Green, I thought Rasheem Green played okay in 2019, but not really number two defensive end good. You don't like that. Ezekiel Anza, uh, look, God bless him, but dude could not, dude could not keep his body in one piece. Brandon Jackson was fourth with 28 snaps a game. Like these are the guys you have to put out there when you don't replace your talent on the defensive line. You're stuck with a Brandon Jackson. LJ Collier, obviously he had a wasted rookie year. He ended up playing about 14 snaps a game over 11 games. So again, three of these guys are basically garbage men. Three of these guys are just warm bodies. That's what your defensive line rotation is down to. And if you look at defensive tackle, it does start to get a little bit better, but Jerron Reed still playing 48 snaps a game. Now, Jerron Reed missed the first 6 games of the season, so maybe we were thinking like, oh, we can put a lot on Reed because he's going to be fresher than usual because he missed the first month and a half. But still, 48 snaps a game is not ideal. Quentin Jefferson playing 42 snaps a game. I'm not enthusiastic about that. Nothing against Quentin Jefferson, but I just don't see him as being a 42 snap a game type player. Poona Ford was up to 34. That's pretty good. And Al Woods gave us 32 before he got suspended by the league for steroids. So the distribution among defensive tackles is not bad. The real problem is we were on the field too much. We played too many plays on defense, and we ended up putting Jerron Reed on the field more than I would have liked, and probably Quentin Jefferson as well. Okay, so 2020, last year, how did we do? This year's kind of weird because Dunlap joined in the middle of the season and changed everything. Rasheem Green missed the first half of the season. When he got back, things changed. Mayoa missed 3 games, I think. It's a little weird here, and trying to use these numbers too much without considering context is going to give you a bit of a misleading picture. But things started to return to a more tenable state with this defensive line, at least on the edge. Benson Mayoa, 44 snaps a game. He was playing way too much to start the season. I think you guys remember that. And then after we traded for Dunlap, it got a lot better. So we definitely realized that there was a problem with our defensive line snap distribution, but only after the season was already halfway over. So Dunlap, once he got here, played in about 40 snaps a game, which for a player of his caliber is totally fine. Rasheem Green gave us 36 and a half, which is fine. LJ Collier gave us 35. That's pretty nice. Alton Robinson, as a rookie with no training camp, gave us 24. That's pretty nice. And he gave us good snaps, too. Like, none of these guys are real garbage men. Maybe Collier, but I don't think Collier's quite garbage man tier yet. So finally, we have a full rotation of defensive ends who at least give us something to get excited about. So I like that. And if you go to defensive tackle, well, we are slipping in the other direction now. Jerron Reed is playing 53 snaps a game. Like, come on. 53 snaps a game. No wonder he got hurt in the last game of the season and was fighting through extreme pain in the playoff game. And by the way, he overcame that to have a really good game in those playoffs, so props to him. But you don't want to put Jerron Reed on the field for 53 snaps a game. He is not Aaron Donald. He's good, but he's no Aaron Donald. This is a problem. Poona Ford, 42 snaps a game. Kind of pushing it for me. I don't know if I want Poona on the field that much. Why did this happen? Because we couldn't find reliable depth at the defensive tackle spot. Damon Harrison was the number 3 for part of the season. He only lasted a handful of games, but when he was here, he played 23 snaps a game. And Brian Monet, he got hurt and missed a few games, but when he did play, He gave us about 23 snaps a game as well. So, but the fact that both these guys didn't play in that many games ended up putting a lot on the shoulders of Jerron Reed and Poona Ford, and it may have contributed to the issues we had stopping the run in the Rams playoff game. So those are how we distributed snaps over the last several years, and I think you can see some pretty meaningful correlations there. The years where we had good snap distribution balance, we were great on defense. And the more we put on our star defensive linemen at the expense of the rest of the roster's snap distribution, the less good our results were, and the more likely that we were going to end up with broken players by the end of the season, if not even longer term than that. I mean, Michael Bennett, like I said, by the end of his Seahawks career, we were playing him 58 snaps a game, and the dude was just busted. So, finally, in 2021, I feel like we might have put it together. We might have actually put this together to where the Seahawks defensive line has the right combination of solid players and depth to keep rotating without getting garbage men on the field. Because if you take a look at what I have right now in 2021, I projected what their snap counts might look like. And it's really good. If my numbers pan out, and they won't, they're not going to be exactly right, but it's an idea of what we could do with this depth. Carlos Dunlap would lead the team's edge defenders in snaps per game with 32. 32 snaps a game for your lead edge player. The lowest we've ever gotten is 2013 Chris Clemens, who had over 40 snaps per game. So we could get that number all the way down to 32 because Kerry Hyder's playing 31 snaps a game. Aldon Smith, and well, we have some things we need to resolve with the Aldon Smith situation. And if he can't play, that does change the calculations quite a bit. But he's playing 29. Got Darrell Taylor. I have him playing 26 snaps a game. Alton Robinson, I got him playing 19 snaps a game. And these are guys that are either good or we as Seahawks fans are excited about. We think they are good. Now, we need Kerry Hyder to be as good as he was last year for the Niners. We need Aldon Smith to actually play. We need Dunlap to not be washed up. We need Darrell Taylor to not be a bust. But I think we expect most or all of those things to happen. And I think that's reasonable. And I didn't even mention Rasheem Green or Benson Mayowa, who on this roster would basically just be the cleanup men. So we've got cleanup men who can actually give us quality snaps. They're not just warm bodies. Rasheem Green and Benson Mayowa are more than that. Defensive tackle. I got one guy on this whole defensive line who's actually playing a significant number of snaps compared to the rest of the league. I got Poona Ford playing 37 and a half snaps a game. We've done better than that before. I mean, in 2013, we had our lead defensive tackle playing 35 snaps. In 2014, we had our lead defensive tackle playing 31 snaps. But Poona's just good at stopping the run and rushing the passer, so I want to get him out there a little bit more. So 37 and a half snaps for your lead defensive tackle would still be a big improvement over what we've been doing the last several years. It would be the best we've done since 2015 with Mebane having 32 and a half. LJ Collier would be next up, 28 snaps a game. And again, I think Collier's going to be good when he moves to defensive tackle. I really do. Got Al Woods. If he isn't completely washed up and can give us 25 snaps a game, I expect him to be able to do good things for us. And then you've got Brian Monet cleaning up with 19 snaps a game, a credible amount. Again, this is contingent on some things. We need the defense to get off the field on third down. Because if we're going to be playing against 1,100 plus offensive snaps next year, these numbers are going to go up very quickly. We need the offense to be able to sustain drives, stay on the field, and milk the clock to limit the number of snaps these guys play. Again, if our offense is either 3 and out or scoring 80-yard touchdowns on every drive, then we may have issues. We may have too many snaps. But if the team can be balanced and the team can make their snap distributions make sense and play football in a way that slots together logically in terms of one unit helping the other and the other unit reciprocating, we could have something like this. One player on the defensive line playing more than 33 snaps a game. An array of maybe 11 defensive linemen total playing anywhere from 10 to 38 snaps a game. And by the way, I didn't even mention Robert Kimdichie, who I think has a chance to contribute on this team as a defensive tackle. So you might want to throw him in there somewhere as well at some point. He's going to play at least a couple games this year. I'm calling it now. All right, that's a long video, but this is important, guys. This is the seat of our power in 2021. This defensive line that has the potential to be the most balanced defensive line in Carroll Seahawks history. This defensive line that will cover up our deficiencies at cornerback, which I know a lot of people feel like we have. You're not going to worry about our cornerbacks that much if we can get rush on the quarterback. This defensive line might be the key to having a successful 2021 season. So that's a good half hour talking about the defensive line. This is how I see the snaps breaking out. And if they can break out something like this, it might be the most balanced we've ever been on that defensive line, and it might be the best defensive line we've ever had. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm going to get out of here. Peace out. Go Hawks. What do you think? How would you compare it to that 2013 unit?